Most believers at some point in their walk are saying, how do I know what God wants me to do? How is it going to happen, this job or this provision or this situation? How is it going to happen? And like Elijah in 1 Kings 19, we're in a cave wondering. And we hear the earth shaking, but the Lord is not in the earth shaking. And we watch the fire igniting, but the Lord is not in the fire igniting. And we see the effects of the wind blowing, but the Lord is not in the wind blowing. Many people are still looking for some earth-shaking confirmation, or some bright fire for illumination, or some wind to blow them into divine direction. You know the story. The Lord wasn't in the blowing wind or the quaking ground or the dancing fire. But after those things came a still, small voice. It's real simple. The Lord just whispers in your heart, writes desires on your heart, and then gives confirmation through the situations around your life. You just trust the Father. Accuse me, if you wish, of being simplistic. But it's wonderful just to say, Father, this is the desire of my heart. Now I'm going to pursue this course and know that you will close doors and open doors, bring confirmation in a supernaturally natural way. Driving through Jacksonville today, I was just blown out. You probably have been too by the turning of the leaves. Some of those trees just take on that red fire, and you just go, oh man. I was down in California last weekend. I'm glad I live in Jacksonville. In fact, I've been able to do traveling, and I've told Tammy frequently that of all the places that I have ever been, I've been around the world. If I could choose one place for me and my family, I would choose Jacksonville, Oregon. I really would. Sometimes I think Maui, but you know, I am so glad to live where I live in Southern Oregon. I'm just delighted to be here. And I like my house. I live on Huner Lane, and I like where I live, and I like the house in which I live. It's just a blessing. And I've lived in that house now for, 12, 13, 14 years or whatever it's been. And, it just works great for us. And we, pop a wall out occasionally and, add a room on as the family expands or whatever. But we're just happy. We're just as happy as clams. Just, punching a wall out and stuffing another kid in, and it all works. It's fine. I'm delighted. Oh, you must have you must have been in agonizing prayer and great fasting and really with intensity wrestling with the Lord to find a house in which you would be content with, 14 years later. No. Living out in Little Applegate, where we had a great, cute little place to live out by Yale Creek. It was raining hard one evening. It was a trailer with an A-frame that the brothers had fixed up beautifully. But the trailer was old. The bathroom didn't work, so we had an outhouse behind us, and we were on a well, and the well was dry that season. There was no water in it. And as the rain came down, because of the trailer that was beginning to give away, mushrooms were springing up in the carpet there in the little dining area. And so as my wife came back from the outhouse soaking wet because it was raining and sat in the front room, this dining little area with me, and we were looking at the mushrooms, and she went to get some water, but the well was dry. She started to understandably cry. And so I perceived at this point, having now 2 kids, and in that situation, I perceived it was time for a change. In fact, so convinced was I that I got into my car and just drove into Jacksonville that night. And somehow, I do not know how, I was driving down Huner Lane and saw a for sale sign in front of the house that I now live in. I knocked on the door. I was sopping wet. It was raining outside, probably 10 o'clock, 10:30. A lady opens the door and says yes, and I said, "Ma'am, I see your house is for sale." And she says, "Yes." And I said, "Could I look at it, please?" It's true. And I didn't know her from Adam. She didn't know me from Eve or whatever. And you know, her name, I found out, of course, later, was Debbie Accord, and she's a wonderful Christian. Her husband wasn't there. She said, "Yeah, come in." So here I am, sopping wet, you know, at that time, pretty long hair and, you know, a wool shirt on. Looked kind of like, you know, the Strangler from... Come in and go through her house and say, "I want to buy it." So the next morning, I bought her house. And you know, it's interesting because the Lord knew my heart. I mean, I just wanted to see the Lord's will worked out, whatever it might be. And you can say, "Well, John, I mean, come on now. You have to go through this agonizing process, or you have to go through that situation." I'm convinced totally that if your heart is, "Lord, I just want to be where you want me to be and do what you want me to do," that things just happen. That you just see a for sale sign in front of the right house, and the person, either miraculously or stupidly, depending upon your perspective, lets you in and says, "Yeah, I'll carry the paper," and all that stuff. And it just works out. And the world can say foolishness or coincidence or irresponsibility. I believe the believer says, no, the Lord is at work. He works in a supernaturally natural way. He just opens doors and makes things happen. And what others would say, "Oh, that's coincidental." In reality, you look back and you say, "Lord, you were working that evening." And all of us could tell stories like that, time and time and time again. We have to remember that as believers, we have a Father that wants to direct our lives more than we want our lives to be directed. God wants to direct you and guide you even more than you want to be guided. Right now in that situation, you think, "Oh man, I got to plead with the Lord or agonize before the Lord." Not really. Just make sure your heart is open to the Lord, saying, "Lord, your will be done." And he'll have a nephew in the right place that will overhear a conversation and will go to the Roman captain, that will set in motion events that the world will say, luck, coincidence. But the believer says, nah, God is working in a supernaturally natural way. And I just have such a peace in my life about those kinds of things. Just, Father, I know you love me. You proved it to me when you died for me in the person of Jesus Christ on that hill called Calvary. And since you love me, I know you're going to guide me because I just want to be where you want me to be and do what you want me to do. And then you just flow with it. And the believer's life is truly a life of rest. You just do what's on your heart and you trust that the Lord is guiding your heart and opening doors. You step out in faith, sure, according to those desires in your heart, and then you watch and see what he does. Now, one more point. Had I, at that moment, in the A-frame, with the rain coming down and the mushrooms growing up, had I said, "Oh, this is a bummer. I'm bummed. Aren't you bummed, honey?" Yeah, we're all bummed. And we could have slid deeper and deeper into our bummeredness. And I've done that plenty, so I know from whence I speak. And I can complain and moan and be bummed, or you can just say, "Hey, Lord, you're at work here. Let's see what you want to do next." The two things coincide. I'm not arguing for a passivity that leads to inactivity. I'm talking about a confidence in the will of God being worked out in your life as you step out in faith. You just watch how the Lord goes before you and works things supernaturally natural in a way that'll be an eternal blessing to you.